What's up? We are back for another episode of Men Have Feelings Too. Who knew? And today, my guest is John Kai Herbert, and he specializes in creating exhilarating relationships for discerning entrepreneurs. Welcome, John. I'm so excited to have you on. I've been loving your content lately.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for the invite. Like, I love talking about all the things, and I'm keen to see where we go.
Yeah, I've been excited about this for weeks. So what got you into being a relationship coach?
That's a fantastic question. So it first started when I realized just how important relationships are to inner growth and to building community. And then from communities, building organizations, and then the world at large. So I really could see that relationships were the catalyst and the crucible for understanding the self.
Yes, they're the cornerstone of everything, really. I mean, just like you said, how our society is structured as far as yeah, pretty much everything. And it's just amazing that so many people can be so damn successful in every other arena of life. But then when it comes to relationships,
Totally agree. I've got friends who are business coaches and they do amazing work in the entrepreneur space. And then their relationships can really crumble. They can really just tear apart at the seams because to have the business systems and then not correlate them back to their relationship systems, it will always impact either the business at some level or their finances or their family. And business is easy because you can kind of do it on your own. You can employ people and you're really in control. In a relationship, you really need to co-create. Right?
Yeah.
You got to have the to and fro. You got to have that dance if you want to make it work.
I think you got to kind of do that in business too, a little bit, like co-create with spirit,
Bringing in spirit, that's a different ball game. Totally.
Yeah.
You could grind all the way without spirit, but then you'll avoid those lessons, right? Because spirit will give you you're grinding in the incorrect direction here. Like, people are telling you, the people that are connected to the divine are telling you, hey, are you sure you want to be doing that? Like, I know it looks great business metrics wise and KPI wise,
Yeah.
but look at your health, look at your family, look what you're doing to the environment. So yeah, I love that. I love that discernment of yeah, cool. Yeah, business, but with business and spirit, like, you really hear the cries for, let's repair this. Like, what's going on?
Yes, that's where we're heading. I'm hoping. But that's what it feels like, more and more people are kind of opening up to and embracing their connection with the divine, which is just another relationship,
Totally. Totally.
Yeah. So, was it like the downfall of a relationship that really inspired you? Like, what were your the quality of your relationships like prior to?
That's a great question. So, I didn't start on a divine journey, a consciousness journey, until my late 20s. And my first long-term relationship was a long distance one. And quite unconscious, no real connection to divinity. We were gamers. So I met her online through an online game called World of Warcraft.
Oh, yeah.
So I've sunk thousands of hours into that game. And basically she came out and lived with me for a few years. And then she went back overseas, and I started having feelings for other women while she was overseas. Basically, I never dealt with the hurt of her going back overseas. Instead of speaking to it and knowing what that felt like in my body, I just started emotionally cheating. And then that ended that relationship. And I went into a series of other unconscious relationships, dragging women along for multiple years, not even promising commitment, but just giving my attention. So it was like there was an assumption there that this was going to go somewhere, but deep down in me, I knew it wasn't going to go anywhere. Then in all of that, I was in corporate. I was 17 years in the film and television industry, and I finished that career as an operations manager. And I wrapped up that job to go to be with another woman. She saw that, John, you're doing this out of integrity. She was very connected to the divine, quite spiritual, had no idea what I was getting myself in for. I was like, yeah, I want to learn and grow with you. Yeah, let's create a life together. No, like this completely blindsided me.
Yeah.
and in that I met my mentor. So she had her own business, and she was traveling selling a book about whole foods. Like she went to university and studied psychology, and she realized that how important diet was. So she made a book that was about naturally sweetened whole foods and plant-based. And I was traveling a bit with her to sell her book. And I thought, I'll just learn my mission while I'm with her. And I met her mentor. I met my mentor through her while she was doing all of her traveling. That relationship broke down over about 3 years. It was an on again and off again relationship. Like, oh, I love you, I hate you, love you, I hate you. And I was between anxious and avoidant, fearful, avoidant, like the whole gambit. So you could look at it, anyone looking at it from the outside would go, what are you two doing? Like, either be in a relationship or don't.
The anxious, though, underneath is just as avoidant as the avoidant.
Totally.
You know, I've recently had this revelation, and I'm just like, oh, yeah. But it just manifests differently.
Exactly. You're spot on. You're spot on. Like, I think that avoidance get the tag, like, oh, you're avoidant, you're the bad one.
Yeah, because it's blatant. Right? It's blatant, but like the anxious wouldn't be doing that if they too didn't have a fear of commitment, because if they didn't have a fear of commitment, they would be with secure partners.
You nailed it.
Yeah.
Totally.
This just hit me in the head like an anvil, like a few weeks ago. I'm like, oh shit. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. And then I started working with this mentor for about a year and a bit. And he showed me a lot of the modalities that I know now around core energetics, how to read the body, how to see patterns in someone's body, what their splits are, like what their relationship habits would be like, what their potential trauma would be like. And this comes from Wilhelm Reich and Alexander Lowen and John Parakos. So
okay.
Alexander Lowen was like the granddaddy of breath work and body work. And then just before that, Wilhelm Reich, before he went into all of his orgone and energy work, could see that he was in his therapy, in his practice, he could see that there was a particular body types that would have this pattern in relating not only to themselves and other people.
I'm really interested in that. I'm also a massage therapist, so I'm just like, yeah.
Nice. But before I started doing this work, I was doing a little bit of body work on the side, business characterology stuff. So I met my business partner with this mentor, and we started just working with men, taking men through their trauma, their mummy stuff, their daddy stuff, their brotherhood stuff, and a lot of emotional rage release work, a lot of reparenting, family constellations, all that kind of shebang-a-bang. And then we started working with women. And then that business folded over the COVID period, over the lockdowns, because we really needed face-to-face. And we weren't migrating online very well as a team. So we just went, okay, cool, we've got to do this on our own. And then I moved from that into working with entrepreneurs, into creating exhilarating relationships. So moving from exhausting relationships, where like they drain their business, drain their life, drain their resources, into something that's much more exhilarating and exciting. So you invite someone into your life that adds to your life.
Yes. Totally. And sometimes you don't always know how that's going to work, right? But if you do the framework in the beginning, chances are it's going to be much better than if you just go into it blindly.
100%. Yeah, that structure about what you want and how you want it to look like, and also creating that foundation of, well, I don't know. I kind of do know. I need some agility, that we can tweak here and there to make sure we're both headed in the same direction.
Yes.
All of us are headed in the same
That's
direction.
key.
Yeah.
Being on the same page in the same book, you know, that affords you a lot of space to then just kind of surrender a little bit. But if you're not even like on the same page, it's like all this like gripping and controlling and trying to get like the person on your page or you on, it's just, yeah. So, what are you finding that are like some of the core relationship issues? First, we'll start with men.
Oh. So with men, it really depends on the type of man. I've got men that are, okay, let's go with the core. Okay, cool. Maybe just reframe all that. Let's distill it down. Yeah, I really want to fork in two directions.
That's
so
okay.
There's the men that want to do the work, and their fear is one of rejection. And then there's men that don't want to do the work, and I have no idea what's at the it's arrogance. I really find that there's men that have like this seed of humility that go, you know what, I just want to find a loving partner, and I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but there's obviously something that I'm doing wrong to keep attracting these women that leave me, or there's something that's going on with me that I need to have a look at. And then on the arrogant spectrum, there's key. Like, nah, I'm good. It's her problem. She's the one. If she just listened to me, it's like, okay, brother, all right, cool. When you're ready to face that,
come back.
Exactly.
Right. Because you can't help someone in victim mode.
You just can't. And it's exhausting.
Yeah.
So I'm at a crux right now saying like, no, I don't want to work with you unless you're ready to have some humility and say, hey, you know what? I don't care how much work you've done before. This is resetting the playing field.
Because that exhausts you. If you got to like, if someone's down here, and not that it's like we're judging, right? But if someone is down here in victim mode and you got to go all the way down to dig them and bring them back up, that's taking your energy. And it's like, really, like, is it worth it?
Spot on. And for me, it's not. So I've mastered how to let people suffer.
And like, people want to come play in this energy of consciousness and, you know, being in a healthy relationship, but they don't want to do the work it takes. And the work that it takes is fucking grueling sometimes. Like,
it is. Like, I love it. Like,
me too. I love it too. I mean, you got to live it though, like every day, you know?
You do. And I think like, I found finding the humor in it, about the human, just like makes it so much lighter.
It does.
It's like what a cosmic joke of just trusting that.
Yeah. And then just like, because as you do the work and have the new revelations, you know, revelations that make you almost kind of like embarrassed, you know, it's fun. It's a different kind of fun.
Totally agree.
So how about women, the women you work with?
Oh, the women. Again, it's mixed as well. So the women that I work with, okay, cool. This is what's coming through. The women really don't value themselves. I see this. They've been so hurt by men over their lifetime. It really boils down to, well, if no one wants to be with me, then like obviously there's nothing good about me of value. There's nothing here that they want to say.
A lot too.
So it's like, no, you're actually incredible. You're actually a really high value woman based on who you are, what you're doing, how you take care of yourself. These are all really high value traits. How you speak to the world, your connection with spirit. So that I'm sorry that no one in your life has told you that those are really valuable traits, or whatever you've been receiving from mainstream media or whatever, or your relationship with men, is that these things are actually really valuable. And just reiterating to them, these are really valuable things for you to be showing and giving to the world.
And that's inherent to who they are.
Totally. And until they know that inside themselves and really own it and practice it, like practice just speaking their truth and saying no to guys, that get that, I like that little charge of flutter. Oh, he's showing a bit of interest in me. He's giving me value. It's like they're saying, just holding off and taking your time and like really checking in with that their womb space and their body space around.
Yes.
Is
I
this,
tell my clients that all the time. Your womb is your oracle.
amen. 100%. 100%.
Yeah. So you kind of have very similar, what's the word? I can't grab it. It's not beliefs. Anyway, you kind of feel like in a very similar way that I do about the polarity community. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. I would love to. Yeah, like I see polarity's got its space in relating, where like you can, where how to speak to this, like as part of a toolkit in a relationship.
Exactly.
It's important. I think it's there.
Pillar.
To weight the entire relationship on polarity, and like when a woman's like challenging you, and they're like, "Nah, you're disrespecting me," or "Nah, I'm the dominant one." It's like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Are you kidding? Like that behavior just doesn't flow, because if you can't really listen to your woman, like she's got wisdom in the relationship. She can see things that you cannot see, and it requires the humility to go, okay, you know what? Maybe I don't know everything, and maybe this polarity game of me needing to be like the dominant one or the boss
all
guy
the time. It's just nonsensical.
It's just completely nonsensical. And you're allowed to neutralize the polarity. I think the relationship requires that. You come together, you might have this big emotional upheaval. It's going to get neutralized. So cool. How can I rebuild the polarity again? It's like, cool. I go away. I do my own thing. It's like, cool, honey. I'm just going to go into the mountains and pick some mushrooms and just go talk to the trees for a bit. You know, come back.
Yes.
Come back. The polarity is back. The tension is back. So I think it's got space, but to make it the number one thing on the pedestal of negotiations in a relationship and conversation in a relationship, it's destined for failure. And I get that. Like, people have reached out to me and said, like, John, what you're saying about polarity makes perfect sense to me. Like, I had a partner that was hardwired into this polarity world, and I couldn't speak my truth. Like, I shriveled.
Yeah.
Shriveled because I needed to be obedient to this.
And there's some truth in it. That's the thing. There's enough truth to kind of make people dive into it head first. And some of the teachers like that are doing it completely miss the mark. And a lot of them are just like little boys with mommy issues, right? That want to feel like big men.
Totally. And to approach that wound, that tyrant, like that shadow, requires a level of humility that is in the body. You can't think your way out of it. Like, you need to, like, okay, cool. Like, where is this child? Like, where is this child that's angry at his mummy in your body? You can't look at it, you can't read like a David Data book or something and discover it in there. It requires someone to go into your body with you and be present with you while you're feeling this little child that never got what he wanted from his mum or caregiver.
Oh yeah. And you know, we say like we store all the memories in our subconscious, and as a hypnotherapist, I believe that. And you know, during some of my plant medicine ceremonies, I've uncovered some like super repressed memories, and in that moment healed from traumas. But I think the subconscious is in the body.
Nailed it. Yeah,
the subconscious is like, yeah, okay, it's part of the mind or whatever, but it's in the body.
Totally. And what tends to show up for like a first layer of me going a little bit deeper in with someone is they'll say, "Oh, John, I've healed this before." And I'm like, okay, it's showing up again now. How did you heal it? And it might be just a technique or a modality that was just help them just clear some space. So I think there's techniques and modalities out there which will just clear some space just so you can live your life. And then if the pattern's showing up, it's like, cool, let's go a little bit deeper. Like, it's okay that this is coming up again. It's like, now you can have some more emotional safety just to feel it all. And it might be like a catatonic cry. It could be grief that just like you feel at the bottom, and you just didn't have space to feel all that. And same with like EMDR. So I get some clients that come to me that have done EMDR, and they say to me that their brain feels scrambled after having an EMDR session. I'm like, yeah, that's all it does is unlock what your brain is hiding, and that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Now you need to feel it all. So it's like, it's cool to feel it all. Some of them go take mushrooms, and the body is the body, you know, like it's got its own timing, it's got its own rhythm, it's got its own seasons. You can't have summer when it's winter. So you just got to allow it to do its thing and be patient and loving with it. You can't reach this end goal of perfection.
No.
So this in relationships, like, just allow it to be the journey. Like, the journey is the goal. Just keep going.
Yeah, like, you know, everybody wants to arrive at this destination of being healed or being in conscious relationship. And it's very easy to fall into that trap, right? Like, oh, once I do this, it's going to be this. And it's just perfectionism hiding, which is a way to stay small, you know? And
disconnected.
Yes.
When you look at aiming for something that's beyond godliness, beyond just the humanity, like, it just really disconnects you from people. Like, you see people, you see it because you want to see yourself as superhuman. So you want to, like, make sure everyone else is superhuman, but there's just this meat and bones reality of being a human. It's just messy.
And being here. We're here to be here. We're not here to fucking sit on a mountain and meditate. I mean, some of us, yes.
Maybe some of us are, but you wouldn't see them. I find that the monk life is great if you're going to be a monk.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you want to be around people, like, the minute you come down from that mountain and have a conversation with someone, it's like everything comes back. Like, all that stuff that you thought you meditated away, it's all there again. You know,
it's accepting it. Accepting it, and, you know, embracing it, and not stuffing it down, because if you stuff something down, it's gonna come out in very sneaky ways.
Absolutely. 100%.
That are, like, way worse than just embracing it and being okay, I know I have this pattern, I know I have this shadow, but if you stuff it down and hide it, you're not hiding it.
Exactly. You're not hiding it. And I see this pattern with parents that don't want to do any work. So it just comes out in their kids. So, like, whatever your parents repressed or suppressed, the children just express it.
Mm-hmm.
So if the parents are, like, hiding their chaos or their lack of sexual connection, it just comes out in the kids in some other way, shape, or form. Because kids know, right? They're like,
they are so wise. Yeah, kids are amazing. So let's just jump around a little bit. What do you think about, like, there seems to be, like, a rise in non-monogamy?
Yeah, I've noticed this, and I think it's a healthy swing. I think we really need to, like, push the edge of what we want to look at.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I've got friends and clients who are in non-monogamous relationships, and it really brings up everything.
Oh yeah, and all the triggers, all the stuff,
all of it, like the jealousy, like the envy, like the counting touches.
What's that?
Counting touches. So when one partner is witnessing the other two play together, like, just watching, like, how much attention that they're giving to each other. So
okay.
They can claim on it later, like tallying up, like, how much affection, how much time is each other. Yeah.
What I couldn't imagine is living with my partner in a non-monogamous relationship while they're sitting on the couch texting someone with new relationship energy. I'm just like, no.
Yeah, and yeah, I totally hear that, and it really boils down to what you want. Mm-hmm. So some of these people have entered into this, like, a non-monogamous relationship out of, like, an experiment, but not really, like as an experiment with no time limit. So then they're in it and they're like, do I actually really want this? Like, this is horrible. And do I want to
time consuming? Especially if it's separate relationships. Now, if you're bringing someone in that, you know, respects you and your relationship, that's a different story.
Yeah.
But having other relationships, I mean, like, relationships take effort, work. they take a lot of relating, which takes time. Like, how do busy people have more than one partnership is what I don't understand.
That's a great question. And I'd love to be a fly on the wall in those relationships.
Yeah.
Like what's missed between the cracks of the communication. Because yeah, if you're like an entrepreneur and you're someone who wants to live that life, it's like, well, where do you have time for your business? Like maybe you outsource everything. Maybe you're just like at a level of your business where you just have an assistant that does everything for you. Or
Yeah.
assistants that do everything for you. But that meat and bones relating, like I'd love to see what's missed. Like what were the like the Gottman Institute speaks to bids and missing of bids. Like how many bids are missed in a day because you're too busy focused on business or too busy focused on another partner.
Another, right. It just, see, the other partner completely thing just doesn't make sense to me. I do get like, playing around on vacation, like things like that. I get that, even though I tend to be someone who is monogamous. I could see where people could kind of enrich their sexual life, but actual relationships, mm-mm. And a lot of people are using this to actually avoid deep intimacy.
Yes, I agree. And I've seen this in communities north of me that do have large sections of polyamory. And the women I've spoken to, the guy just jumps when there's a moment where he needs to own some behavior that's either abusive or incorrect. He puts it on the woman and then just goes to the other partner.
Oh, gotta go.
Oh, gotta go. And then him and that other partner collude and then make the woman that's speaking up about, hey, like this is inappropriate, like, make her wrong.
That's terrible.
So it is. And that's the dynamic. Like there's this avoidance, like you said, of deep intimacy and deep ownership.
Yeah. I mean, and through the realization of that, like I do have this fear of commitment, and it's just been manifesting in me in, chasing after avoidant partners. You can then start to unwind it if being in a deep relationship is something that you want. Now, some people are going to come to the realization like, hey, maybe I don't want a deep intimacy then. And that's fine too, but you have to be honest with yourself and other people.
100%. And be able to put that bold request out there. It's like, hey, you know what? I don't want a deep relationship. One of my housemates practices pickup, and I've been encouraging him because he wants to merge pickup and spirituality and this transparency of like, hey, I'm just here to pick up. Like, I'm not here to like pretend that I want a long-term relationship or pretend that this is going to turn into something else. I just want to go out, be confident, and pick up a woman and take her home. And make it like really transparent and really conscious.
Transparency.
Like just don't pretend. Like there are women out there and people out there that just want that. Go out to the club, pick up, go home, have a good night, or not have a good night, and then go home. So I think that there's so many aspects of relating that if you're just transparent about what you want and what you need, and don't try and attack it sideways. Like, no, I want a relationship. I want to be committed. No, I love you, baby. I want to be with you forever.
But then when shit gets real.
Exactly. Shit gets real. I'm out. I'm done. No, it's never meant anything to me. Come on, we met on Tinder. Like, how could you really be? How serious?
Regards.
Totally, right?
Yeah.
Totally.
But hopefully, I think a lot of us have come onto the planet at this time to transmute this. Relationships are just really struggling right now all over. And I think people like, people who have been through the ringer and have grown up with a lot of distortions and now kind of see that and want to transmute it in themselves are the blueprint holders for this.
Yeah. That was perfectly spoken, Lauren.
Aww.
Yeah. I just want to reflect that back because that was really potent. So the people that are landing here today, the people that are on the planet here right now, have gone through some relationship stuff, and they also carry the blueprint of what future relationships and this divine unions and what it means to relate to other humans as a human.
Yes, I love it. And, as fucking painful as it is sometimes, I wouldn't trade it for anything,
Same.
and how you can start to notice once you go deep into your body, how you can start to notice the frequency of different kinds of love that you are like projecting to somebody and that you are embodying towards somebody, and how you could feel it in different areas of your body. And if it feels like an expansion or a contraction, it's so interesting.
It really is. And I love that you've spoken about the body. I found that women who like love their body, love their body, have a really great connection to what's going on in it. And like, the sensations, like what it feels like, what's it like to describe it as a season or a weather pattern or a color. And then the people that struggle with this, I need to give them a vocabulary. And I don't know if you've discovered this in your work, like, well, what does your body feel like? And they might get like, oh, I don't know. I've never actually thought about how my body feels. Is this tingly? What is this sensation? Like, what does grief feel like? Anxiety, like all of the labels that we give the sensations. Like, if they haven't got a vocabulary, they don't know the depth of relating that they can get into. Like, once you can like relabel, once you can notice anxiety and give it a different label and just be with it or whatever it is, it can really transform how deeply you can go into relationships and just be present. Oh yeah.
And even into like, sexual practices with yourself.
Yes, 100%. And that, yeah, so many tangents, like in the breath, like where does that arousal appear in your body when you breathe it elsewhere? Like, can you push it into your neck? Can you push it into your feet? Like, where can you take all that arousal into your whole body instead of just focusing it around your genitals? Like, there's a whole new world available for everyone on the planet.
Yes. I love it so much. Yeah, I'm in a year-long sacred sexuality program now, so I'm learning that, and I think soon I'll be ready to implement some to show my clients. I've been like here and there giving them little tidbits of it, but I mean, how you could even kind of like, and you have to be careful and be protected with this, but I'm just realizing how you could even, interdimensional beings.
Totally.
I would never think before that I would say that I have had sex with an interdimensional being. And I still think it sounds crazy.
I'm sure people listening to this might go, that sounds like freaking crazy. But I had an ex whose sister who loved having sex with ghosts, and she would swear blind that she would like enjoy, she preferred to have sex with this ghost than her partner. So there's there's all this stuff that's coming through the veil.
Yes.
Which I think is as crazy as it might seem from an outside point of view, who's someone that's been brought up in like a religious background, an extremely black and white scientific background. There's a whole new world of possibility and relating out there that if you can just acknowledge that there's stuff out there that you don't know, it makes space for all of these other conversations, which I think just all lead back to how you want to relate to yourself, how you want to relate to the world, and how do you want to relate to those who are special to you or important to you.
Yes, it's like, and it's just how almost everything is just such a reflection of you.
And I love that paradigm of we are all one, and
yes, and
and I'm bound in this flesh suit. This flesh suit's got a history built into all the cellular structure in the bones, genetically, ancestrally, and I have another soul imprint, another blueprint that I also carry with me. So there's like a uniqueness and a uniformity with all of us that, if we can allow that to be expressed, just makes life so much easier. It's so graceful, fun, playful, humorous, and devotional because when you realize that we are all one and we're not all one in the same
at the same time. So I've heard
time.
a concept like, because non-duality can be very dismissive, you know, like, okay, yeah, we're all one and pain isn't real and this isn't real, but it just kind of seems like that can get into disassociation and escapism. Like,
100.
why are you escaping being human? You came here to be human. Yes, you are a multidimensional being, but right now you're not. You're this person, and why can't you be both?
100%. And I love that you've spoken to that. That ties in with Wilhelm Reich's work and the characterology work, where that particular body type loves fragmenting off into not wanting to be in a body.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a very early childhood wounding between 0 and 3 of just not feeling safe in the body. It can even start in the womb.
Yeah, I think I used to be like that for sure.
Yeah, you
Like a
do.
lot of work.
You do. Yeah, you do. You have the physical body type, and your energy doesn't say that you're ungrounded. So I can see it, and you've done whatever it is to be with me in this conversation. So I can feel you with me. So I know that you're not going to like split off somewhere else. I can see. So yeah, and that's a very challenging wound to look at, because it really forces you to be in your body and feel the terror. It's usually and so I want to acknowledge that, because not many people want to go down that path of that embodiment. So like, Lauren, mad respect for doing that. Mad respect.
And that terror still comes sometimes, you know, but now I know how to sit with it and feel the different layers of it, whether it's grief, this, and underneath every huge pocket of grief is a portal. That's been my experience. Like, holy shit, portal, you know, like I almost get excited when a huge pocket of grief comes now.
I love it. So how much more deeper, how much further can I go into my experience?
Right. Is it endless? Like, do you get to the end of your shit and then just start going into like ancestral lineages? And then how can you tell what's you and what's your ancestors, right? You just go so deep in there. It's like there's a universe here too. Like a whole fucking universe.
There really is. And I wish, I hope for humanity that we all discover this in like our lifetime, of just how deep and powerful and transcendental it is just to look at ourselves and take time to be with ourselves in that silence, that stillness. There's so much to discover being in this meat suit. I really don't think we've scratched the surface of it yet. There's so much more to go. It's
going to start happening faster and faster though.
Yeah, totally. The mutation, it's beyond evolution now. It's mutating. So we're really seeing this. We weren't expecting that. Oh, that person's like born with gifts. Like this kid who's 7 years old is speaking wisdoms of
kids coming in now. Yeah.
It's like, how come you're not allowed to speak? You're 7 years old. Are you kidding? Give them a microphone. Tell them. Give it all. Like, yeah, I love it.
I follow this one girl. I've been following her since she was 11. I think maybe she's like 14 or 15 now. Mindfulness with Mika. And some of the wisdom that she drops, I'm like, man, if only when I was that age, right? But then I wouldn't have the gifts that I have now to share with the world, because I wouldn't have had the experiences that I have. You know?
And I think, and I love that you spoke to that too, Lauren. I think like our generation and having that really hard, challenging upbringing with the bridges between the worlds.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like we learn how to navigate. Okay, cool. Like, well, how do we speak to money now? Because I'm seeing in pockets of the communities, money is starting to transmute a little bit. Well, we've seen how it's been used before. How can we use it now that's much more aligned with divinity? How can we use something that's gonna exchange, offer the value of exchange without being damaging or self-destructive? I think we're bridging between all these worlds, and it's necessary for the path of growth. We're not allowed to, like, I think there'll be people that will come through with the cheat codes, and some people will get those and implement those. And there's some of us that just really need to know that gritty human experience of like, this was hard for me, you know, like I've had X amount of failed relationships. I've done this, I've done that. Like I've had this kind of abuse, and being able to connect in the meat suit level of empathy about what that feels like, and just being with that person. It's like, hey, like, you're not a mistake. Like these experiences that you've had, sure, yeah, there's great gifts out of it, but yeah, it was hard for you. Like in those moments you felt like you were all alone, you know, and there was no one else to help you. And I really thank you for sharing that story with me, because that's not how a child should be raised.
And
that's
acknowledging that.
Exactly.
Yes.
Validating it, like, yeah, totally. And just that validation alone can
That's
really
beautiful.
set a person free. Yeah.
That's almost like what they needed to hear, you know, the support that they needed back in that time.
Totally.
That they didn't have, and that they didn't even know what it was, right?
Totally. And you're speaking to the adult and the inner child, and potentially any ancestral stuff in that same conversation.
Wow.
Like you just healing the whole human in the one thing by validating their entire life experience and not making it wrong. Like, just, hey, welcome to humanity. It's hard.
Yeah, and just the radical acceptance and radical responsibility.
Totally. Yes. Radical acceptance and radical responsibility.
Yeah. So you have a child, right?
I've got one on the way that is I'll be taken care of. And before I started on my inner work journey, I donated. So I've got 5 other kids that aren't mine, I've fathered in the pipeline. So yeah, I've got one on the way. It's coming in October.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I was asking because you seem like you'd be a very good dad. And
thank you.
So are you still in contact with the kids that you fathered?
No, so that was through an IVF clinic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Have you seen that movie? I don't know what it's called. This guy who went to an IVF clinic and they just used his sperm since it was really good, and he fathered like 500 children. It was what was his name from Swingers? It's really good. Damn it, Vince Vaughn.
Yeah, I'm gonna check it out. I love Vince Vaughn.
Yeah, I wish I could remember what it was called. I watched it like I think on HBO Max.
I love it. When I first got into relationships, I never wanted kids. I was like, nah, kids are not for me. And then I got to a point where, you know, my genetics are quite unique, and I'd love to put them logically into the gene pool.
Yeah.
So I did that. And then going through all of my inner work, I've gotten to a point where I wasn't going to be with a woman unless I was prepared to father a child with them. And that became my mantra. I was like, cool, I'm not going to get into a relationship unless, because if I get this woman pregnant, I'm prepared to raise a child with her. So I need to check to make sure, is this the woman that I want to, could I father a child with this woman? And then the relationship that I'm in now, and I love her dearly, Cassie. So we're having a child in October. And for me, it was a point in my life where I'm like, yeah, you know what? It's the time to have a kid. Now I could be a great dad. And I've learned a lot of lessons. And I see that children as well are a great crucible for growth. So any of those blind spots.
Yeah, so you're going to level up.
I'm like, okay, show me son or daughter. Like, what have I missed? Like, tell me, and trigger the heck out of me, because I'm prepared to have all the lessons.
Yeah. New level. It's like there are teachers just as much, you know. I heard this one quote. It's like, we teach children all about life and they teach us what life's all about.
I love that. That's the best.
Yeah, I somehow so I never had children. I spent my 20s and early 30s in kind of like just a state of like trauma and active addiction. But I did have the opportunity, like when I came out of that, to to like help raise my ex's kids. And that was just such a beautiful, amazing experience to be seen through the eyes of such an innocent, beautiful soul that just kind of like thinks you hung the moon. I mean, yeah.
Tell me more about that. Like, what's that been like for you?
What, the coming back from the addiction or the
No, raising like being seen that way, or like being seen as that.
it was deeply healing. So I met this partner when I had just got out of rehab, and I used to be an exotic dancer. And the club that I worked at, they wouldn't let me back because I overdosed in the dressing room twice. So I had to go to this other place, which I was completely uncomfortable. And this is a vulnerable story. So that I was there, and like my life was just at that point going completely down. But it's relatable to the kids, going completely downhill. And I was like, I think I'm just going to go home and end it. I had this whole plan in my head. I was just going to go home, and, I didn't have anything. Somebody had my dog. My friend Elise had my dog. So it was just done. And then I'm on stage and I turn around and this guy's there. And I'm like, okay, he looks like the only safe person in this whole place. I'm going to go talk to him. And, I was like, hey, what are you doing here? You don't look like you belong here. He's like, I have no idea. I left my friend's party and came here. And like, he bought me a drink. We talked, and I was like, he's like, you don't look like you belong here either. I'm like, yeah, I'm actually really uncomfortable here. So he gave me a ride home and then asked me out to dinner the next night. And then I never went back there again. Introduced me to his kids right away. And like his daughter and I, we had to have spent past lives together because we clicked right away. And it was just such a neat, beautiful relationship. Just to see the look in her eyes and just the way she was shine. She was such a light. And just to see myself reflected in that was so deeply healing for me that I credit the relationship with her and her brother, Nick, her name's Lucia, for my being successful at transcending my heroin addiction. And just the connection we got to have, and just the small moment. I only spent like a year and a half with them, and just to see the impact that I was able to have on their lives in that little bit of time helped my confidence in who I was and what I was here to do really unfold. So it was just so beautiful. And her and I are still in contact. Sometimes she's a teenager now, so I give her the space she wants. She knows I'm always, always, always here whenever she needs someone.
Lauren, thank you so much.
Thanks for letting me share.
I felt all of that. Wow. Wow, what an incredible story. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, that whole relationship, it had to be a karmic relationship because I helped him through his divorce, and he helped me through my addiction. And then just after that, we just
wow.
Yeah, pretty neat.
Really, I really hear so much divinity and love and just being held through that whole thing, that whole circumstance.
Oh yeah.
You got some big wings there, Lauren.
Yeah, I feel like I have a lot of help beyond the veil, and I'm so grateful.
Yeah. So what's next for you, like spreading your wings wise?
I'm on the precipice of just really deepening into the work that I'm doing with women and coming home to themselves and kind of helping them on that journey. I'm feeling kind of called to help a lot of women in the Twin Flame Collective.
Yeah.
To really see that connection, and that was a gift, and that was a gift for them to really heal all their traumas, come home to themselves, and they may never ever be with this person again. And they have to let that go, right? So my program is called Embodied Sacred Union. So they can, embody masculine and feminine within themselves so they can learn to have interdependence in relationships and just really deepen into their own magic.
Love it. Are you accepting clients now?
I am, yes.
Great. So 2 people just popped into my head. That'd be perfect for me to send to you.
Beautiful. Yeah, I've just finished like really. So I wrote this beautiful program, right? And I was with my partner at the time. It was like a new relationship, but it was like it was lifetimes too, right? And I just finished having the PDF, and then out of nowhere, he like broke up with me. So I had to do some deep healing, and a lot of both of our wounds got triggered in this. So instead of launching then, I did some really deep healing and just reflection on relationships. So now I have so much more to bring into this program, and I'm so excited.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. Sounds awesome. And I think that twin flame journey, in embodying that twin flame journey, is so important, because I do see like an attachment to, oh no, I need to go back to them. So actually, you don't need to, but just embody what you've got.
The divine handles that.
Exactly. I guess this is beautiful, Lauren. I love what you're doing here. This is fantastic. Wow.
And how about for you? What's next for you?
Oh, what's next for me? Yeah, my next thing for me is being more fierce. So,
okay.
There's I see people on the edge of wanting to work with me or other people, and they want to try and heal themselves, and getting real with them on that journey. Like, I've known them for years, and I've seen them on the edge of like becoming this incredible, like this, whatever their blueprint, whatever they're here to be. And I'm like, the fierceness is like, stop mucking around at the edge. Like, you're sitting on a fence right now. You've reached the ceiling of what you can do right now. Now you need to reach out to the people to get you to that next level.
Yes.
And you will get the resources. If it's aligned, if you commit, the resources will come, the support will come. But the universe needs to know
that you're committed.
Exactly.
And that's true. The resources will come. I paid for a $7,000 business coach that I had no idea how I was going to make that work, and it worked.
Same. 13,000, exactly the same thing.
You're totally right about that. Yeah, I'm going to start sending men into your group. I really enjoy your group. I mean, some of the content you post in there. Really quickly, do you have time to talk about like the healing love a little bit?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Yeah. So my ex-partner actually introduced me to this teaching from Montauk Chia. And I do love it. I love how, like, I'm just getting into the healing love, even though I'm doing like different practices in my course. I would love to know like what it is like for the men though. Like, the book for the men is completely different, right? So what kind of practices are like the pivotal ones?
So it's the breath. So it's really, it's bringing the breath in, and the muscle tensing and the letting go. So for me, I don't like sitting down. I feel there's a disconnect in my legs when I sit down. So I like to stand when I'm doing my exercises. And that's the main one. And I think in the video that I posted in my group, that's the main exercise, because I know men can get really hooked on the technique. Okay, I'm doing this. Yeah. But then when it comes to the bedroom, or when you're with a partner, like that all goes out the window.
Yeah, you got to kind of let it go a little bit.
So there's the breath is, I always come back to the breath. Like, unless you can find a partner that really wants to be slow and be with you in all of those techniques, it just becomes an isolated skill. It's like being really good at yoga on the mat, and the second you're off the mat, like, you're losing your breath, you're full of like you're in a tizzy, like you're yelling at people in the car when you're driving. So all that peace that you got from like your yin or whatever it is, all the people, whatever practice that you're doing, you lose it the second you get off the mat. So in the breathing, Like, sure, you might be sitting up straight and doing all of your, you can feel the kundalini or the orgastic potency or the libido like flowing through you. And then the minute you get on the bed, it's like, it goes. One of the teachings that I love is that women are the water and men are the fire. So with a woman, like a woman's always going to win because water always puts out fire.
Yes.
So the importance is to keep building the steam. Just take your time, man, just take your time.
Taking the time is big.
Massive.
There's no rush. There's no rush and there's no need for a goal.
Exactly.
It's like when you let go of the goal, that's when magic can happen. It's about like true connection, not like a race to the finish line, right?
Totally. 100%. And in all of that, because when you start racing to the goal, you become really disconnected.
Oh, yeah.
I'm aiming.
You're having a different experience than your partner. If you're racing to the goal, I have this saying, two become one, then become the whole fucking cosmos. Right?
Yes.
And that's something that, like, I think I could have gotten to a place where we would have experienced that, and almost in my last partnership, but I just don't. And this is a limiting belief that I'm working on right now, that there are not a lot of men that are willing to let go of the goal and what it takes to get there.
Yeah, totally. I agree. And I don't know what that is, because there's so many men, I see so many men with so much potential. I thought, why? What is that thing that you don't want to have a look at, that's confronting you about wanting to take it slow or not aiming for the goal, or like, where is that? And a part of me is really, it's a purpose. There's some kind of purpose that's missing in that man's life, because when you have your own purpose, the pace of life changes, the tempo changes.
Oh, totally.
And there's like, okay,
that's
cool.
Interesting you point that out. That's so true. I never thought about that.
Yeah, what's your experience of that with your partners? Did they have a purpose that they felt they were aligned to in divinity? Like, what would you?
No. So my last partner, yes, but before the partner I was with for over 3 years, he was just so in his pain and trauma body that it was like, no, he wasn't even there. It's almost like when people are in their unhealed traumas, it's almost kind of like they're unable to be present in the sexual experience. And it's almost kind of like you're just masturbating with each other's bodies.
Agreed. Totally agree. Yeah, there's so much armoring in the body.
Yeah.
Whatever's going on, it's like, cool. I'd rather feel the relief that comes from orgasm than be with all the feelings that are coming up right now about being physically intimate with someone. Yeah,
you can do some deep shadow work in sex.
Amen. Totally agree. There's and the deepest, that's really true. Some of the women that I've been with, that when they feel that it's okay to be whatever they want to be in that physical intimacy, that's so validating and healing for them.
Yeah,
it changes the game. So like, when I'm not in it just to get off, when I'm in it just to be present, that's where all the magic happens. All the magic.
And honestly, I've only had a little glimpse of that with a partner. Like I've really been focusing on just like deepening into like my own practice. So like the next time I am with a partner, that can really, expand. But
So where are you at there? So are you calling in someone right now, or is it like you're closed and just concentrating on yourself? Like, where are you
I am. So I do. That's part of my embodied sacred union, is a process for like calling in the connected partner. But I've already done that, and now I'm just kind of like letting the divine deal with it. I'm completely open to whatever wants to come into my life that is aligned with me and the growth that I've experienced, but I will never, ever seek again. Like
What is that? What's that sensation like in your body? Like that I'm never going to seek again. I'm only waiting for the divine to bring to me.
it's like a drawing, like a calming, drawing in expansion. It's like this. And it feels so peaceful because, I have this relationship with the divine that I've, through this year, through plant medicine and a lot of my own work, have learned to trust so deeply that I'm okay. Like the stories will come up sometimes like, oh my God, like what if I'm single when I'm like 50, right? And I'm able to just kind of unwind them right away. So it's beautiful.
I love it.
How long have you been with your partner?
That's a great question. I think it's been about 2 years.
Okay.
October 22, which we were doing a bit of a backstory.
Yeah, I would love it.
Okay, cool. So I moved into this house maybe 2 and a bit years ago. No, it must be 3 years. Must be in a 2020, in a 2019. Just looking at the date on my computer, and it's 333 on my computer. And Cassie, my partner, when I moved in, I saw her at the top of the staircase. We had this really super brief conversation. And I was either about to head to Brazil to sit ayahuasca or about to do ISTA level 1 down south in Tasmania, which is an island off of Australia. And brief encounter. And I could tell, like, so I automatically read her body and I could see like we weren't going to be compatible. And I just kind of wrote it off because I'm not interested in having a relationship right now. I'm deep in my inner work. I'm deep in my purpose. I don't need anyone. Fast forward a bit, and I did something called Landmark, which is like this. All of my housemates were doing Landmark. Landmark's like this personal development organization.
I heard that. Is it an MLM?
No, it's not. It's not. I understand why you'd see that. It's not.
Okay.
And my housemates were like, John, you got to do Landmark. I don't want to do Landmark. It sounds like this. It doesn't sound like it does any embodiment work. It doesn't sound like it does what I want to do right now. Anyway, they had a few conversations with me and I'm like, okay, cool. There's something that's in this that I just need to see it for myself. Took a massive humility pill and went along. Had some breakthroughs.
I love that.
And then did the advanced course. And then Cassie, my partner, was at the advanced course as well. So in between me doing Landmark and the advanced course, Cassie and I started to have a bit of an attraction. And it was interesting. So we spoke about like our relationship dynamic. And she's a projector on human design. And I'm a generator.
Okay.
And all my 3 previous partners have all been projectors. And so I knew
I'm a projector and I always am interested in generators. So that's interesting.
Yeah, right. So me knowing what her type was allowed me to encourage her being in her own room. So we sleep in separate rooms. We still do.
Nice.
And it works. Like it works. And so we started this relationship not knowing what we wanted. So I said, okay, cool. All right. I can feel an attraction towards you. So let's just let's look at it bit by bit and unfold like what's going to happen step by step and just speak about it. What's going on? So she was umming and ahhing about whether or not she wanted to be with me. All of her relationship stuff was coming up around her exes and being with people and committing and devotion. And for me, all of my stuff around rejection and jealousy and like, what is she doing? Is she with another guy? And I'm like, cool, I was going to be with all this. This is great. This is perfect. And then at the advanced course, the Landmark, she was taken through multiple processes to deal with all of her ex stuff, all of her stuff with her ex.
Wow.
And then she confessed to me in front of a group of like 60 people, like, oh, John, I choose you. I want you as my partner. And it was like, it was so good. She came sat in my lap, we had a good kiss. And then we just went back about being in the program. So that was that defining moment of like, cool, this is done. We're now committed towards working towards something. And then we created a vision board each. And then we created a combined vision board about where we want to go, like have kids on there and a house on there. And we've just seeded all of that and maintained conversation about whatever we want and whatever we need.
That's important.
And it's super important. And working with her family too. So I said to her, look, Cass, our relationship is going to radically transform your family dynamic. Just it's going to happen. And it's happening, it's like that her family is transforming, like who she saw her parents to be is transforming.
Wow.
And
so powerful.
It's so powerful.
That's wow. Just the healing that can be done in relationship is so much deeper than it can be like alone. You can do a lot alone.
Totally.
You can, but
totally. and so then now we're moving out of this house. I live with 6 other people, various generations and various inner work levels. And
that must be interesting.
It's super interesting. Like over COVID, we were all locked in the house together. All the stuff that came up, it was like this shadow work house. Like all of it. Great. I loved it. Like I loved it. I'm like, this is my element. So Cash and I have just got our own house. We're going to move out next month and just start a life together. So perfect.
That's so exciting. Yeah, I saw the maternity shoot. That was a beautiful picture that you guys took.
Thank you.
I was like, wow. So I heard you say in relationship, like talking about your relationship, the word need a lot. I notice in the spiritual community and in some people, they're like, you should not have needs in a relationship. You should meet all your own needs. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's that, I think it's a bypass of human wants and needs. So we are social creatures by biology. And I really think that there can be this, I need to be completely independent. And I do not see how it could possibly be done. You start to talk to yourself and you start to anthropomorphize inanimate objects. You'll start to talk to like your flask or like or you'll get a cat or an animal and you'll start to talk to the animal as a human. So
definitely.
You have needs. And right now, like I'm onboarding someone who doesn't want to appear to be needy, but has gone through her life of being independent, and her heart is opening up, and she wants to acknowledge, like, hey, you know what? We're going to be in a relationship. Like, I have needs in this relationship.
Yeah, and that's okay.
And it's okay. It's totally okay.
There's a total difference than needy and having needs. And there's so many needs that can only be met throughout connection. Like why else would we have connection if we don't have needs for it?
100%. And that I don't need anything. You should get all of your needs from yourself. This comes from a hurt little inner child.
Yeah, exactly. Not having your needs met as inner child, like, so you don't have your needs met. So as a child, so you then project that onto how things should be in relationships. So you're definitely afraid of relying on somebody for your needs, and then definitely afraid of somebody relying on you for any needs. And it's just, this is so common.
It is. And it sets up a gateway and a pathway to like dementia and Alzheimer's and other things where it's like, you can't do it on your own. You need community, whatever that looks like,
It's beautiful to be able to like, have that connection with someone that that they'll be there if like your world crumbles, or if you have a flat tire or whatever. Like if it's not like you would ask your partner to hold your inner child all the time, but sometimes you might have some things come up that they could help heal.
Totally. Like the other day, like I just finished a call with someone and Cassie came in. And she said, John, and she was like really upset. Like she just needed to be listened to and held in that moment. And it only took 10 minutes. Like, these are the moments in life. Like this doesn't come up. So either I can go, no, I need to work. I need to go like track down.
Deal with your own emotions, right? Your own
emotions. Don't be so needy. It's like, no, these are the moments that I want. These are connection. This is
life.
Exactly.
So it's like what I've been thinking is like, how do we transmute that? Because the pendulum can't keep swinging from, total dependence to total independence. We have to be in the middle.
Agreed. Totally agreed. And navigating what our wants and needs are, and how to transmute that is really, I think it's really understanding what you want and need and what are your non-negotiables. And sometimes you don't always know that up front. Sometimes that just
you don't. Exactly.
Yeah, it's like, oh, wait a minute, I actually needed that. Oh, I didn't mention that up front. And then just being able to have the conversation and have those big asks and those bold requests of a partner. It's like, hey, I got a bold request for you. I said I wasn't that fussed about not kissing you. It actually turns out I do really want to kiss you every day, all the time, or whatever it is. There's something that's there.
Yeah.
And just be okay with it. Just own it as a want and a need, or a need, or whatever it is.
Yeah, we got to take the dirtiness out of that word.
Totally agree. Because there's being able to balance that dependence and independence is the dance.
And that's the thing that, like, I think when you balance your masculine and feminine energies internally, the interdependence, you'll be able to embody that a little more naturally.
Nailed it.
Because that takes harmonizing, that takes deep healing and deep inner work. And then you're going to uncover why the fuck you think that need shouldn't be around anyway.
Totally. And I think a partner secretly wants to fulfill your needs.
And they want their needs fulfilled.
Totally. So like I've been in relationships where I love to be the one that's the giver, and then afraid to be the one that's asking for things. So when I ask for something, my partner loves giving it to me.
Yes.
Like, John, I've been waiting for you to tell me what you want and what you need so I can give it to you. And I'm like, really? And then there's this value, there's this switch of like, oh, these needs are actually important. And it's like a breadcrumb of a need. Oh, what's another need?
Allowing someone to fulfill your needs.
Exactly.
Just like, kind of like, if you're someone who never receives, you just want to give, that's kind of messed up, because you're denying somebody else of giving to you. Like, that in a healthy relationship, the channels need to be open of both, because that's going to affect how you give and receive in a relationship. Is going to affect every single area of your life. And if you close one of those channels, it's going to close. You're going to start noticing it's closing off in other areas.
And it shows up in the body in some way, shape, or form. Like some kind of illness or some kind of ailment or something. You're overgiving and not allowing somebody else to contribute to you. Everybody wants, at some level, someone out there is just gagging to want to contribute to you. And all you got to do is put your request out there. And if you don't speak it, if you're afraid of the rejection, you're never going to know.
Yeah. Oh, this has been such a beautiful conversation. Oh my gosh, I can't believe how much I've enjoyed this.
Me too.
Thank you so much. So how can people find you if they want to work with you? I'm going to be sending you like anybody I come across, because I think that your work is probably really freaking amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, I love what I do.
I can tell.
So find me on Facebook, John Kai Herbert. Just Google me. I'm on Instagram as well. Same handle, John Kai Herbert. And just track me down. Like, I'd love having a conversation with you. Like, find my content, jump onto my page, and just strike up a conversation. Like, say, hey, John, I listened to this podcast of you with Lauren, and I want to talk about this thing that you spoke to, which shown up in my relationships or whatever. Like, I love to give, and this relationships.
I can feel that's true.
Yeah.
Like, it was so easy to ask you to be on my podcast. You were just like, sure. I've had men say they would, and then like completely just stop talking to me. Like, and you were just so open and genuine. And I really respect and appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you, Lauren. And I really want to acknowledge you being up at 12:30 a.m. to have this conversation with me. That's a level of dedication, which that shocked me that you were willing to do that for me. So I love
doing this. I get nothing out of doing this because I work with women, other than like, I really just kind of wanted to hold the space and show the world that there are men that are doing the work. There are men that want to dive into their inner world and, show men that it's okay to do that themselves.
Yeah.
Because that's not been what's perpetuated in our patriarchal society.
Totally. Yeah, there's layers to that, which was probably another conversation.
Right.
I totally agree. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful evening.
Thank you. Bye.